Disclaimer: the views discussed in this episode are based on our opinions and our knowledge of the topic. We do not want to manipulate your mindset, and we hope this is not taken out of context. Over 1.5 million or 15 lakh students pursue engineering in India, which is more than the United States of America and China combined. But why does this happen? So, welcome to another episode of the Cranky Frankly Podcast. This is your host, Ishan Sharma, and honestly, I'm a management student. I have nothing to do with engineering, but I'm joined with an extremely special guest. I have Ishan Sharma, who is an engineering student and also YouTuber. You can check out his YouTube in the description. So, hi, Ishan, how's it going?
Hi Ishan, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, we've got the same name, so it's funny there.
Yeah.
But yeah, today we're going to be talking about engineering, about our knowledge of engineering, and why do people in India actually pursue engineering. Beginning with the basics, let's understand what is engineering, because from what I've seen, I've also noticed a lot of people who study engineering, they don't even know what exactly engineering is about and what all they can do
Yeah.
with a degree. So let's just
Mhm.
clear that out of the way. So since you're the engineer, your future engineer here, let me ask you,
Yeah.
what do you understand by engineering, just like a quick definition?
Okay, so engineering for me, very basically, it's about problem solving. Okay, and problem solving in a very mathematical manner. Okay, so if you take a look at various fields, you have computers, you have electrical field, and then you also have mechanical. So for all of these fields, there is a way to solve problems mathematically and logically, and that methodology to solve something is basically it comes under engineering. Okay, so that's what I call engineering. There are different types of it. You have as I've talked about computer science, you have electrical, you have chemical engineering, you have biotechnological engineering and all. So that's what engineering is for me.
Yep. Yeah, I hope that clears everything out. There's a ton of fields of engineering from what I'm aware of. So,
Yeah.
just a question from my end. How many years does it take to become an engineering graduate?
It depends a lot. A lot of people end up doing masters as well after doing their bachelor's in engineering. So it depends. If it depends on what position do you want. If you want like a senior position, then you might want to go and do like a 2-year master's degree, and then you might become one. But most people just do the 4-year bachelor's degree, and then they are good to go.
Right. And what would you say is like the most renowned or the most famous field or specialization of engineering?
I think that the most overhyped one is computer science, no doubt, just because of the fact that it's booming right now, and it's just a hot topic. Everyone is talking about the next big app that could take over the world. So that's what I think is the biggest, the most hyped up field right now in engineering. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, a lot of people who do try to pursue engineering also try to apply to the best college of engineering, which is the Indian Institute of Technology or the IIT.
Yeah.
So, can you
Mhm.
like briefly tell me about how can one, apply to IIT and how many people actually appear for the test?
Oh, it's crazy. IITs have become this overhyped place where anyone can go and they can, live their dream and they can convert their lifestyle. People see all of these ads, these news on newspaper wherein students have grabbed 1 crore packages, and just by
Mhm.
taking a look at the headline, they assume that, oh my God, engineering is very much uh, the only thing that can change their life, that can take them from rags to riches. Okay, wherein they don't even understand the full picture. And I think that newspaper does a very wrong job of motivating people. But essentially, IITs have always been these premier institutes which will help you to learn the concepts of engineering, be it electrical, be it computer science, or mechanical as well. But yeah, that's what IITs have been doing in the last few years. It's been this there is this tag of IIT, that everyone has when they graduate from IITs, and that just gives them a huge edge against any other kind of candidate who is sitting for the same job role, and that really helps out. But These days, I have been seeing a lot of people from even tier 2, tier 3 colleges, and they end up doing just as fine in their life. These days, I think a lot of the corporates are understanding the fact that you don't have to be from an IIT to be having the skills that are required. Sure, you do get to network with a lot of amazing people at IITs, but that's not the only way. As for how to apply for IIT, it's pretty simple. You need to give this exam called JEE Mains, and after that, you need to qualify for JEE Advance. Give the JEE Advance, and then if you get a good enough rank, then you will get to sit and become a student at IITs. It's really, really hard. I myself have given JEE Mains. So very
Okay.
early on in seventh grade, I gave this exam in Fiji, which would help me learn how to crack JEE Mains from seventh standard itself. And that made no sense to me. Okay. At that time, I used to be this tinkerer. I used to, I used to force my dad to get me these remote control cars. And then I would try to just tear apart the car and take a look at what's inside, what is the motor, what is the chip, and how do they actually work. And then all of a sudden my father is like, you need to become an engineer, you need to crack and get into IIT. So he forced me to he was like, basically my family was like, you need to study for this, and I was like, I don't have the time nor the will to do this. So back in 10th grade, that is when I felt that I need to um, you know prepare for this exam. So I got myself into Catalyzer. I studied over there for NTSC, missed NTSC by 3 marks,
Oh,
and then moved. Yeah, that was a bit of a pain for me, because I always wanted to crack NTSC. That was like the biggest goal that I had for that year. That didn't end up happening because I probably did a lot of procrastination. I ended up playing a lot of Pokemon Go and other stuff. So, anyways, I don't have any regrets. I lived my life, I enjoyed it. But now, then came 11th and 12th. That's when I started officially preparing for IIT JEE Mains and Advance. I got myself admitted into FITG, got the scholarship, about like 90% scholarship. Everything was good. I prepared a lot and I passed JEE Mains, got into JEE Advance. JEE Advance was pretty horrible for me. I messed up the paper completely. But yeah, a lot of people give JEE Advance, JEE Mains especially. Okay, so for JEE Mains, it's like 10 to 12 lakh people give this exam every single year. It has been reducing, which is a good signal, because now people are realizing that this is not the only path. But yeah, this is a huge number, and so they just try to make sure that everyone gets a fair chance to get into the IITs, and they also end up doing some reservations, which many people are against. But that's what IIT JEE is basically about. It's really hard. It's all about rote memorization, and problem solving is there, but mostly it's about, if you go into take a look at what chemistry is and how all the formulas are given. If you just memorize the formulas, then you are good to go. You can pretty much just crack JEE Mains and as well as JEE Advance. You have a pretty good shot at that. So yeah.
right. So yeah, as he said, IIT JEE is very difficult to get into, and yep, there's pretty much 10 to 12 lakh students appearing for this test, and you're trying to compete with pretty much each and every person who is your age. Everyone's trying to appear for this exam, and they're all fighting for the same position. So it gets extremely competitive, and it's a good signal, as he mentioned, that the number is going down, and there's more and more colleges that have appeared, and a lot of people are looking at these colleges and thinking of themselves studying at that college. So it's trying to diversify the number of options that these students have. So with that being said, let's now try to understand what are the main reasons, or what is the purpose for a person to become an engineer or an IT graduate, or just study engineering in general. So the first reason that we briefly want to discuss is the reference from friends and family. And according to us, or according to me at least, this is the most common reason why one may study engineering, because there's, as I mentioned before, there's over 1.5 million engineers, and a lot of these may be parents, and these parents would encourage their children to pursue the same course that they studied, and it'll
Yeah.
actually help them
Mhm.
solve difficulties, and it's tried and tested for them. Basically, it'll be easier to them to support. And was that the case with you? Is our parents into engineering?
No, my parents, so my mother is more into teaching Hindi language, and my father was also a teacher. Okay, so basically both of them are teachers. They are not from the engineering background. My father was from medical, but sure, like they took a look at what I used to do, which
Mhm.
was tinkering with electronics. So
Yeah.
they were like, "Mera beta engineer banega," that sort of a thing. Okay, so that's what happened.
Yep, that's true. There's a lot of people, even for me when I was young, I was playing with Lego or something, and my parents were like, one day you'll be an engineer. So it's a bit crazy. And then you realize that you have to write IIT JEE mains. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's actually quite difficult to estimate when engineering was introduced in India. But again, today it's one of the most evergreen industries. And again, a lot of families and friends and a lot of people around you are doing engineering. So you're constantly under peer pressure that, okay, my friends here are doing engineering. He's going to this class. What am I doing with my life? Maybe I should also study engineering.
Hmm.
So a lot of these questions come into your mind, and that sort of drags you into the world of engineering.
Yeah.
The second reason that we would want to discuss is the value of being an engineer. And yep, as Ishan had also mentioned, if you graduate from IIT, you basically have a label on your head. You're like, I'm an IIT graduate, and you're almost superior in society. I wouldn't like to say the term superior, but unfortunately, that's the case. We see a lot of uh, companies looking for IIT graduates, and they end up, performing better than the other schools. But hopefully it's going to decrease. And how this started was in the 2000s, I believe. The Indian government began accrediting thousands of engineering colleges, including the IITs. And in simpler terms, governments analyzed the figures that they have of the population, and they looked at engineering, and they saw that a majority of the population were employed as engineers. And of course, to support the majority of the workforce, the government decided to support these colleges by improving the facilities and accrediting the courses to make sure that everything's official and all of the students are graduating nicely. And that also incentivized students to pursue engineering. So anything you'd
Hmm.
like to add about the value of the engineering degree?
Oh, I would say that the value is decreasing ever since, because think about it, right? When you have 1,000 engineers, there's a lot of value for them. When you have 1 million engineers, there's not as much value. Okay, so
Hmm.
it's all about demand and supply. Previously, everyone thought that engineering is this amazing thing that you can do. It still is. It's a very safe job that you can get into, and it will pay you enough. But as you can see, if you take a look at how much does a normal engineer get paid in India, it's terribly less. I'm not talking about software developers. They might get paid a little bit more, but it's just been reducing ever since. That's what I feel.
Hmm. Yep. And that's also why we've seen a lot more other industries, growing up, such as, entrepreneurship or commerce or finance and stuff like that, as well as the arts and psychology and stuff like that. So it's sort of nice for India as a country, I'd say, that we're trying to diversify in the fields that we specialize in, and, just not be a hub for engineering, but also hub for a lot of other fields. And with that, we can move on to the next sort of point, which is purpose driven individuals. And I feel a lot of people claim to be purpose driven individual. I don't mean to call out anyone, but a lot of people, if you just ask someone on the streets if they're an engineer somehow, and if you ask them why they're an engineer, they'll say that it's my purpose to be an engineer. I'm very curious to find out stuff. And to a large extent that is true. And without a doubt, the natural sciences are some of the most interesting subjects, physics and computers and stuff like that. A lot of the youth are curious about learning how these things work. And even though some people don't realize that they're driven, but the main purpose is to solve problems, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
And again, there are millions of engineers. So, the both of us can't account for all of them, but we like to think that a lot of these engineers are purpose driven. And again, it's an extremely important industry for managing operations in a business and solving problems in the real life businesses, and actually be applied in real life to make sure that everything's going all right. So um, again,
Hmm.
engineering is extremely diverse, and based on what one wants to specialize in, they can find a purpose within themselves. So quick example would be that computer or IT engineers are curious to communicate with technology. That's what I like to believe. And civil engineers, on the
Yeah.
other hand, would be invested in improving the lifestyles of the city and the country. So, although they're both engineers, they've got completely different purposes, which is an assumption that I've made, but also that how diverse engineering is and how many fields there are of engineering. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
just a question for you: when you were pursuing engineering, was were you like purpose driven to be an engineer, and you're still pursuing engineering, right? So, do you
Yeah.
still consider yourself one of those people?
So I'm in second year of college and I am currently pursuing electrical engineering, which isn't what I like. I am more into software development. So I do manage to do just enough to get through my exams in electrical engineering, and I focus mainly on computer science. So I really like solving problems and creating stuff basically in the realm of software development. Okay, so that's
Hmm.
what I enjoy. Definitely it is a purpose driven field, and people enjoy solving problems on end for hours. You will see people just solving problems for 2 hours, 3 hours, just trying to get the solution. So there's
Yeah.
definitely there, but then a lot of people are motivated because of the money factor as well. So that's what I feel.
Yep. Great. And briefly, we had mentioned, demand and supply for engineering, but
Yeah.
here is quite an interesting concept. I like to believe that the supply for engineering, which is the number of students who want to pursue engineering, is what is creating the demand for engineering. And
Hmm.
from an economical standpoint, I like to say that the supply, as I mentioned, are also the resources and the availability of engineering. And if you are in the city of Mumbai or anywhere in India, I like to say, if you look around yourself, you'll probably see, tuition classes for engineering and a lot of these engineering graduates, starting up businesses, and pretty much anywhere you look around, you might find an engineering graduate. And
Hmm.
that's actually true because a lot of these people, as it mentioned, there's so many engineers in India at least, and anywhere you look, you'll find an engineer or someone who's pursuing engineering, someone who's teaching engineering. There's different applications of engineering in that sense, and as engineering has been going on for decades and centuries, the specializations have also increased, and I'm pretty sure computer or software development, as it said, would not have existed like 20 or 30 years ago because technology wasn't that advanced, and
Yeah.
the quality of
That's true.
engineering.
I
Yep.
feel that the need for good engineers, for great engineers that can actually work productively is a lot. But the problem is that most people are learning substandard engineering concepts. Okay, the professors are not good enough. Most of them are bored of teaching the same concept for years and years. So that is what I feel is lacking. If you go and take a look at what happens in US, there people really enjoy learning the concepts. A lot of that goes to the professors,
Mm.
but I really feel that we need to change the way engineering is taught in India, because right now it's just really monotonous, and there's a lot of focus on theoretical concepts and not enough focus on the applied concepts. Okay, even if you take a look at what my classes are there in a week, I have one class in which I go and I work up on an actual breadboard, on an actual circuit, on an actual chip, in 1 week. Okay, and then I have like 6 classes in which they'll be teaching me the theory. So this is the ratio, 6:1, which is really bad. I would really like to see at least like a 50-50% division, but that's what I feel about this.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually interesting because we hear a lot of, stuff like government is trying to support engineering, or even the, people who are involved in engineering, they're trying to improve their own community. And that's definitely a huge factor, the application to coursework ratio. And
Hmm.
I feel it's important like a bachelor's degree or, master's level to actually have more applications of whatever you're learning, because ultimately after you've graduated, you're going to be working. And if you don't have experience with applying your knowledge, then it's of no use, right? Let's say I have tons of things in my mind, I can solve these many problems. But if I'm not actually going and solving these problems, what's the use of, having all of this knowledge? So
That's
definitely
true.
applying your knowledge is essential in that sense. And
Hmm.
to visualize, there are thousands of tutors for each and every specialization of engineering. But although not all of them are good, but for engineering, if you're looking at, even you said that at seventh standard you were trying to, try engineering and stuff like that. So at seventh standard you had support available for you, and all
Yeah.
the way till 12th standard you'll have people trying to support you to get into an engineering college. Then you'll have
Hmm.
people who will support you while you're doing your engineering. Then you'll have people who will support you after your engineering to, become a better graduate in terms of your placements and stuff like that, and interviews. And then even when you're working, there'll also be trainers who will help you apply all of your engineering. So it's like a whole journey from engineering to engineering to engineering. And again, it may get a little monotonous. I'd like to say that
Yeah.
so many engineering graduates have been doing it for years, and for implementing some change to it, they may pursue something different in the future. And that's again an interesting thing I'd like to talk to you about. We see a lot of bachelors of engineering graduates, they end up doing an MBA after an engineering. And what are your
Hmm.
thoughts on that?
I think it's like a waste of time and money, and I might be wrong. Okay,
Mhm.
but as of now, that's what I feel. Doing an or like any sort of engineering, and then going to do an MBA, and then working at a bank. That's what most people do. That I don't know. It just doesn't make much sense to me. If you were interested into MBA, then you should have done that from the beginning itself. Do BBA, then do MBA, or there are also other options for you. I think if you really want to learn about accounting and business, start your own startup while in college, okay, or after college. All right, that is something that no one else will do. And I'll tell you, when you start your own startup, you will learn everything that you would have learned in your MBA just by starting your own startup. You learn how to communicate with people, you learn how to create a balance sheet for yourself, you learn how to manage expenses. All of these things you'll be able to learn by just starting your own business. It might fail, which is completely all right, but I think that's what I would say. If someone wants to do an MBA, definitely you get to create a lot of networks, but I think LinkedIn is definitely a great place for you to do that. So yeah.
Yep. So again, talking of engineering students trying to pursue MBA, the next reason that we like to talk about is the stereotypes and the mindsets of Indian people. And this is a rather unfortunate thing that we have to discuss, but it refers to when a relative or a school counselor or friends create a
Hmm.
certain picture in a student's mind that if you're not one of the 7,000 people who get accepted by IIT, you don't have a future, you can't do anything else in your life.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that is huge. You have no idea. I was in DPS in Hyderabad as well as in Indore, Delhi
Mhm.
Public School, and basically every single time there used to be this counselor who used to come every single week, one class, to just talk about our future. And she just talked about how important it is for you to get into IITs. So from a very early stage, you get this image drawn into your head. It's like IITs is the only way to go, and if you don't get accepted, your life is done. And if you just think that, you, even if you could have done something, just by thinking, just by having that sort of mindset, just derails your motivation to do something, even if you don't belong to an IIT. So I think there's definitely a lot of uh, pressure from the teachers, from the parents. There's a lot of stereotypes. वो बोलते हैं ऐसे कि US में engineer हैं and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we start imagining that the amazing luxurious life that someone can have as an engineer in US, while we don't even know the tax rates over there. We don't know how costly everything is over there.
Mm.
And even if you take a look at what the top end engineers, the software developers are earning in US, it's not a lot. Sure, the people at the top tech companies are earning a lot of money, but other than that, if you take a look at normal companies, it's not a lot. After the taxes and all that, they're just trying to meet every single expense. They don't have to have a lot of money to save.
Yep. Actually, that may be subject to change because of the presidential election drama that's been going on.
Yeah,
Joe
that might
Biden.
change.
But yeah, again, a little bit of uncertainty there, I like to say, because we've got a
Hmm.
new president and it'll take some time to adjust with it and try to implement changes. So that's one factor that a lot of people fail to consider, but it's probably one of the most important things, right? Your psychological aspect to it. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was planning to appear for IIT, and he told me that while he did a campus tour in IIT, he also found like a section which he briefly described as, a place where people are, going alone to. It's like a forest kind of a scene, and people are just staying there alone and talking to themselves, and a second doubting themselves about what they're doing in life, and was it really worth it to get into an IT. And it's a deep thing. And actually there's also been a lot of suicides and a lot of people harming themselves because of
Yeah.
not being an IITian or not being an engineer from a good college. And that's really terrible, if I'm being
I
honest.
think that for us college students, the biggest thing that's missing in India is self awareness. All of this is happening because we are just not self aware. We were told about this amazing lifestyle that we can live after, getting an engineering degree, but that's definitely not happening. And when they're not able to get enough marks, they just think that that's the only way that they can survive, and there's no other choice. So I think self awareness is very important. A lot of people are just lost in their life
Hmm.
because they just don't know what other paths can you take.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep, and even if you look at the Indian system of education, right through, if you're in your 11th or 12th, or even earlier, your counselors would be like, okay, you're getting, 90% or 95% in your exams, you should pursue
Hmm.
engineering. And they don't give you the, other two options that you have. You could either do science or arts or commerce, but they'd encourage you to do science and science only, even though you're not interested in it. It's
Yeah.
almost like from the get-go itself, you're dragged into the realm of engineering.
Interestingly, you know what? I back in 10th grade, when I had to choose which stream I want to take,
Hmm.
I was like one of the top students in biology,
Hmm.
and I was also one of the top students in social studies, and I could have taken any of those, but just because of my marks, my you have this class teacher, and
Hmm.
she was just telling me that, oh, you can just take up engineering, there's no problem, just take up PCM, physics, chemistry, and maths,
Yep.
and forget about everything else. Don't worry about biology and other things. And I took it as a challenge. I was like, okay, I'm good at biology. I am not good at maths. I don't enjoy maths, but I want to take it as a challenge. So that's why I took maths right now. But I really enjoy it right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. And I think with that, we've discussed a bunch of reasons why one could study engineering, basis on for the reputation that you want to have in life, and the stereotypes that are set in your mind, and the income that you might get, the chance of studying abroad, and supply creating demand theories and stuff like that. So I guess we've wrapped up sort of the reasons that one could pursue engineering for. But one question still remains is, what is the future of engineering? And it is certain that engineering is still going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest industry in India. Definitely there is a decline that we're seeing, but it's, in my opinion, it's a never ending cycle. And what are your thoughts on the future of engineering?
I think engineering really teaches us problem solving, as I've talked previously. And if you take a look at other YouTubers, if you take a look at people that are solopreneurs or even people that start some huge startups, a
Hmm.
lot of them are from the engineering background, and they don't apply what they've learned from their engineering classes or courses, but they do have that mentality, the mentality to solve a problem, to come at a conclusion, to think methodologically.
Hmm.
Okay, so all of this is really great. That's what engineering teaches us. But I really hope that there's some reform in the way that engineering is being taught in India specifically, uh, or else this is just going to be a really bad situation in which people will always going for IITs. If you take a look at what the Western culture is like, they don't really care as much about the Howards or the Ivy Leagues. We can sort of compare the IITs with the Ivy Leagues, I think. Uh,
Hmm.
not exactly similar, but sort of.
Yeah.
So even if they don't get into the Ivy Leagues, they are not completely lost. They do find ways to get into state colleges and other things, and they
Hmm.
don't feel that, oh my god, I'm not into an Ivy League, my life is done.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sort of mentality shift is required for every single engineering student. I see that there are a lot of people, YouTubers specifically, like Kalpit Veerwal, like Sachin Rana, like Aman Dhattarwal. All of
Hmm.
these people want to project this new mentality that it doesn't matter even if you're not from the top tier colleges in engineering, you can still have a good life. You can still change your circumstances. So I think that's what the future can be, a future in which people from all engineering colleges have equal chance to
Mm.
do whatever they want to, and they are self-aware as well. But yeah, engineering is really good, I would say. The way that it is implemented has to change, although.
Yep, yep. Even I agree that engineering is definitely a respectable field. And if I'm, talking about myself, I'm not interested in engineering at all. And it's kind of weird that I'm doing this podcast on engineering, but I
Yeah.
did want to explore my options. Even in ninth grade, I was able to drop physics as a subject, which sounds
Hmm.
ridiculous, but I'd like to really thank my parents for, actually not pressurizing me and, stuff like what you're going to do without physics and stuff like that. But I'm aware
Hmm.
that many households would not allow such a thing. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity. And coming back to my point, engineering is undoubtedly a legacy. And I can't, sit down here in a podcast and predict when it's going to end. But in in the 21st century, we have observed a rise in the popularity of arts and commerce and lawyers and all these other fields. Even
Yeah.
YouTubers, as you said, in India, they're growing.
Hmm.
Artists and musicians and entrepreneurs and teachers, and the list is never ending. And I think that's extremely good for India to diversify in all these various fields. And I personally think that India should not be known for a country that exports engineers to USA, but export all these other various fields as well, not just engineers. And that's
Yeah.
just my point of view. So
Hmm.
for the final section of the podcast, I'd like to just, have a conversation with you about your sort of what you're doing currently with engineering, and just take the show, what you're trying to do and what is your purpose with your YouTube channel and stuff like that.
So as of now, my mentality is to just get through my electrical engineering courses and focus more on software development. But both of them are into engineering itself, and I want to grow this YouTube channel. I don't have a business idea right now on how to monetize on the audience,
Mm,
but I am thinking about something unique that I can do. I see a lot of people that are monetizing on their audience, but I think I want to do something unique, something that is really no one has ever done before. I'm really thinking about how to do that. But yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Other than that, I am also working at a startup called Codam, wherein basically it's a learning platform. If you want to learn to code, that's something that a fourth year student at BITS Goa, my college, has started. I'm
mm.
just trying to make sure that that startup gets the funding and stuff. So that's what I'm working at. But yeah, content creation has definitely been something that I've been doing in this last year. Started in January of 2020. So far, it's been really good. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of new friends, impacted a lot of people. But yeah, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing right now. Really
Yeah.
enjoy the process. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very important, enjoying the process. And with stuff like engineering, I feel that some people who, again, this is subject to a lot of your thinking, but people who are not, as purpose driven as someone who wants to, be an engineer to solve all of these problems. If someone's just doing it for the fact that they'll, be an IT graduate, they may not enjoy the process at all. And that's, where we see the problem that that arises to, you not having good relations with your professors, not having good relations with your parents, with your friends. And again, you're just in the realm of your own.
And more importantly, not even being happy with what they're studying. Okay, like I'm not
Mm,
happy with electrical engineering. I want there to be a system in which I can take what I want to take. Okay,
mm,
I wanted to take, like, similar to what's happening in US, right? You can
mm.
take up whatever stream you want to as long as you get admitted into the college. I want to take computer science, but I could not, just because I got 20 marks less in some 1 hour paper. Okay, so that's a silly thing to do, and the rest of my 4 years are completely spoiled because I'm studying some random courses on electrical which I don't even enjoy, just to get marks so that I can pass this engineering bachelor's degree. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and as a great person once said, one paper can't decide my future, or something like
Yeah, exactly.
that. So yeah, on that note, I guess we've discussed enough about engineering, and we hope we have added value to your knowledge of engineering. That's our purpose, to try to make you guys understand what engineering is in India. And again, big thank you to Ishan for collaborating with me. You can check out his YouTube in the description. He's got many more subscribers than me, so you already know him
Hi,
probably.
thank you so much, Ishan.
So yeah, I guess we can end today's episode with that.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye.